Hi everybody, Leo Babauta from Zen Habits here. Great to be here with you. And today I'm going to talk about something that I think is super important and under talked about, which is the negative self-talk that we have inside of our heads. And so I've worked with a number of clients, actually a whole bunch of coaching clients, where they, as we talk through things, what it turns out is that they have this habit, a mental habit, that probably goes back years and years and years, teenage years, childhood years. At some point, they learned a habit of kind of beating themselves up about what they're not doing or how they're not doing enough, or, they screwed things up. And so it might go something like this, like, why are you always doing that? Or why are you always like playing games instead of actually doing your work? And why can't you change things? And why can't you have your life more together? Why is actually a big question that this voice asks, but it's not like a curious why. It's a very critical, harsh why. It doesn't have to be why. It could be like, you're so stupid. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have said that. What, why? Definitely why comes up a lot. But this is the voice that's in a lot of people's heads. It was in my head for a long time, and I've seen it in a lot of clients' heads. And so we're going to get into this. Why do we have it? In a curious way, not a critical kind of why. What effects does this have on our lives? And then how do we start to change that? Because I think that this is a really fundamental mental habit that if we could shift it, it would change so much. And we'll get into the possibilities that are going to emerge once we start to shift it. Actually, I'm going to merge a few clients together so that, I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but I'm going to talk about, let's say, a particular client that really is actually a bunch of clients. And they have this habit, or they used to have this habit, where it's like, why aren't you like doing more? You should be doing more with your life. You're screwing up your life. Look at everybody else. They're doing so much better, and you're screwing all of this up. Now, for the most part, they didn't even notice that they have this habit. They might kind of be aware of it, but for the most part, when it happens, it just happens on autopilot, and they don't notice that it's happening. And it wasn't until they start to work with me and reflect on what's going on when they aren't doing what they were hoping to do that they start to see this like negative voice in their heads, that they can actually see that it's happening. But this voice goes back as far as they can remember. And so they don't even notice it anymore because this is just a normal part of their existence. When something is there all the time, you're just like, that's just how things are, right? Like you don't even notice the air around you anymore because you're like, this is how life is. There's air around me. Well, this voice that's critical and harsh, that is like the air that we're just kind of like in all the time. So these clients, or this client, let's just call it a client, would have this voice. And the way that it usually happens is they're like, I want to start exercising more. I want to start, waking up earlier. I want to start being more productive during the day. I want to start eating better, and I want to meditate every day. Okay, great. Do you want to start with one of these habits? No, I'd like to do two to start with. Okay, great. So they're like, I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to do this one. And then we come back in a couple of weeks, and we're like, how does it go? I did it for like 2 days, and then I stopped. And then I'm like, what did you notice on day 3? Well, I just lay there in bed, and I didn't feel like I could do it. And I'm like, what do you notice in that moment when you didn't feel like doing it? I was like telling myself, like, why can't you just get out of bed? But I just couldn't do it. I just felt so much dread and anxiety. But I was just like, what's wrong with you? And then the next day, what's wrong with you? And then I stopped even thinking about it. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. What's wrong with you? Is that a common thing? And so we started looking at it, and then they start to like pay more attention to this voice. And I said, journal about it. When you notice things that this voice is telling you, write it down. And so we start getting curious about the voice and what it says. And it turns out that that's there for them every day, throughout the day, maybe 10 times, 20 times a day. And so we looked at like, what's the effect that this has on you? Well, it makes me feel really bad about myself. Yeah, what else? Are you more motivated afterward? No, I feel discouraged. I feel like I'm failing, like I'm losing. Okay. And then what? Does it like get you motivated afterward? No, I just feel like less energetic. I don't feel more motivated. I feel worse about myself. I feel less trust in myself. And so all of this stuff starts to come out. And it turns out that this is one of the biggest reasons why they're not doing the things that they want to do is because of this voice. Now, it's interesting because if you examine why we have this voice, it turns out that this voice is actually trying to motivate you. It's trying to get you out of bed, get your butt off the cushion, I mean, the chair, and like go do something. But it's not doing a very good job. It's trying its darndest. And that's what I want to say about this is that it's not a bad thing that you're doing to yourself if you have this voice. It's not like you suck for having the voice. That's actually more of the same thing. What it is this voice is a protective mechanism. Now, it doesn't feel protective because it feels like we're like getting mad at ourselves. But actually, the hope of this voice is that by criticizing myself, I'm going to start to do better. If I criticize myself, I'm going to like try harder, do better. It's like this inner drill sergeant that's trying to get you up and do something. And the problem is that it doesn't have the effect that it's hoping to have, but it's hoping to have a good effect. It's hoping to motivate you. It's hoping to get you to be more disciplined and productive and, all of these great things. So it's trying. And this is a strategy, a protection strategy that we learned years and years and years and years ago. And we still have, every time we use it, we have the hope that it's actually going to do better. And so I said, why don't you try doing without it? And they're like, okay, sure. I'm going to try and, I said, well, what if you tried a compassionate voice instead of a critical one? Okay, let me practice that. And they come back the next time and they're like, well, I didn't like doing it. It felt wrong. I'm like, why? Well, if I'm nice to myself, then I'm afraid I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit on the couch, watch TV, play games, do nothing. And I'm like, yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? That's the strategy is if beat yourself up, then you're hoping you're going to do better. And your fear is if you don't do that, if you're nice to yourself, then, it's going to, result in you doing nothing. And I said, so you don't have to be nice to yourself. It's just it was an experiment. But, that strategy of being harsh on yourself to motivate yourself, to get you to do something instead of sitting on the couch. How's that been going? You've been doing it for a couple of decades now, maybe 3, 4 decades. How's that been going? And they think about it and they're like, well, it's not going very well. I've been trying this repeatedly and it's not working. And that's the thing that we need to realize. That's what I'm here to tell you in this video. I have more to tell you in like how to actually start to change things. But most importantly is we have a fear if we're nice to ourselves, we're letting ourselves off the hook. We're just going to not do anything. We're never going to get better. We're not going to improve. And so we do the opposite strategy. I'm going to not be nice to myself. I'm going to drill sergeant myself into doing something. But if we actually look at the effectiveness of this strategy, what it turns out is it does not work. It's demotivating. It's discouraging. Beating yourself up is actually making things harder. Go figure, right? Punching yourself in the face with his critical voice is going to make you hurt more. It's going to make you have less energy. It's going to leave you bruised and battered. That's what we're doing to ourselves with the hope that if I punch myself enough, I'll get up off the couch and be disciplined. But it doesn't work. You're beating yourself up. You're battering yourself. You're demotivating yourself. You're making yourself have pain. So, what we want to do is remove that. And so people then practice removing it. I have some clients who recently started doing that, and they're like, yeah, I'm actually way nicer to myself now. But how do I now get myself to be productive? If I don't use the negative voice and I'm being kind, how do I get myself to be productive? And the answer to that is, well, it's going to be easier now than it was before because now you're not using all your energy to beat yourself up. You're being kind to yourself. You're feeling, you're changing the relationship that you have to yourself. And now you're going to try and do stuff not because you think you suck, but because you want to. There's something that you care about that actually matters. And we can start to work with that kind of thing. How do we motivate ourselves if it's not drill sergeant, if it's not punching myself in the face? Well, there's a lot of other motivations. For example, I'm doing it because I care about the people who I'm serving. I do it because I want to see this exist in the world. I'm doing it because I like to create things and it's fun. I'm doing it because this is part of my learning process. There's a lot of other kinds of motivation that aren't about beating ourselves up. And so where our fear is if we're kind to ourselves, we'll never find motivation. Well, try some other ones first. Actually, first try being nice to yourself and then try some of the other strategies. So we're not going to get too much into the other strategies. I've mentioned some. Try those. But what I would like to look at first is how do we stop punching ourselves in the face? Another metaphor that I like to use is like you're carrying all this extra weight of the self-criticism of how bad you think you are. It's like putting extra bricks into your backpack and then trying to climb a mountain. You'll be exhausted after 5 minutes because you've added so much weight. If you start taking that weight off, you still have to climb the mountain. It's not like you're there already, but it's going to be so much easier. You'll be able to zip up that mountain with much more ease. Now, it's still a mountain, still hard to climb, but you're not carrying all of that weight. It's actually going to be easier. That's what happens when we stop criticizing ourselves. Okay, so how do we shift it? Let's say you're convinced and you're like, Leo, great. I don't want to do that to myself anymore. I understand that it's protective. I understand that it's not effective. I understand that there's other ways to motivate myself and it's not about just letting myself off the hook and doing nothing. But I want to shift it. So how do I shift it? Okay, so this is a mental habit, and that means that we need to actually have some awareness, and then we actually need to create a new habit instead. We can't just cut out an old habit. So what we need to do is start to create a new habit, and the new habit is kindness to ourselves, compassion. So what it might look like is something like this. I didn't work out this morning. I was too lazy. Oh, I'm calling myself lazy. Ooh, that's not so nice, right? And I'm like, well, why didn't I get up earlier? I'm so like disappointed in myself. Ooh, there it is again. So I start to notice the old habit and I notice, oh, what it really wants is for me to start doing better. Okay, great. Thank you, old habit, but I don't need you to do that anymore. Actually, it's not the kind of thing that I want. I do want to do better, but not from this place of being mean to myself. So we can have this kind of dialogue. After a while, you don't have to actually say the words out or think them. You just have the attitude of like, thank you. I see you, critical drill sergeant voice in my head. I appreciate you. I understand you're trying to protect me, but I don't need you. I got this. That's the attitude that we have. If you remove all the words and you just have the attitude of that, then that's actually what we're shooting for. But in the beginning, you might actually talk to yourself for a little bit like, hey, man, I see you. I see you're trying to protect me. I see you're drill sergeanting me here or criticizing me like one of my parents did when I was young to try and motivate me, right? But that's not what I need. And I got this. And then what I really want you to do is also have the stance, maybe even say it to yourself that, man, yeah, I didn't get up and work out this morning. Yeah, I feel a little bit sad about that. But I am trying my best here. Every day I'm trying my best, and it's hard. That doesn't mean I can't do better or I can't like work out tomorrow or maybe later today. But can I just acknowledge that I'm trying my best here and start to be kind to myself? Like just be a gentle, loving. It's almost like if you had a little kid or, like let's say it's a niece or a nephew and they're really young, a toddler's age, and they're trying their best, but they're failing and they feel really discouraged and disappointed in themselves and sad. And all you have to do is be loving and warm with them. Give them a little bit of a hug and say like, yeah, you're trying your best here. Good job trying your best. It's okay. I know you're feeling disappointed and frustrated. It's okay. You can feel that way, but we're going to keep working at this. So it's an encouraging voice, it's a loving voice, and it's kind. We're giving ourselves a warm hug. We want to do that with the feeling that's inside of us that's like that little discouraged kid. Oh, I didn't do the thing that I said I was going to do. I feel really discouraged. Yeah, like acknowledge that feeling and just pretend like it's a little kid and give it a loving, warm embrace. You don't have to like literally embrace it, although if you want to, go for it. But it's more just the feeling that you have towards yourself. Like, man, you're trying your best. I get that you're discouraged. It's totally okay to feel that way, but we're going to keep trying. You're trying your best. Nice work trying your best. This is hard stuff. We're going to keep trying. That's the voice we want to have, or at least the attitude. Warm, friendly, loving, caring, kind attitude towards ourselves. If you can cultivate this, and this takes practice, if you cultivate this over the matter of weeks, you will start to have a different relationship to yourself. Now, once you've done that, there's more work to be done. There's still a mountain to be climbed, but you've now taken off a lot of weight off of your backpack. You've stopped punching yourself in the face, if we want to go back to the other metaphor. You will actually have a lot more energy and you can find other kinds of motivation. Again, try making it fun. Try doing it with some other people and having fun with them. Try like doing it because you really care about this. Try doing it because this is a way to take care of yourself and be kind to yourself. Try doing it because you're like on a learning adventure or you're curious or this is an expression of your creativity or your love. Try one of those. But we want to let go very gently of the old critical drill sergeant voice in our heads. Okay, that's what I've got for you today. Let me know if you have any questions about this. This is a deep topic, but I have seen clients shift their entire lives by really working on this. There are others who are like, this is dumb. I'm not going to do that. But for the most part, the clients who actually take this on and they really work with it, they actually do shift this towards themselves. That doesn't mean that they're always going to be kind. Sometimes they still have the harsh voice in, but more and more, there's more kindness and less they're critical towards themselves. It is a life-changing thing. I've seen people, work their way out of depression because of this. I've seen people change incredible habits because of this. I've seen people just carry less emotional burden around because of this. So that's my encouragement for you. I'm sending you all love and I appreciate you doing your best. I'm Leo Babauta from Zen Habits. Loving working with you here in the YouTube community. Give us a thumbs up, a like, subscribe if you can. Leave a comment, let me know like what's helped you, any questions you have, any objections you have, what's the struggle, and share the channel with others. If this video could help someone you care about, share it with them. Maybe they'll appreciate it and make a huge shift in their lives. Thanks, my friends. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.